Six kingdom notes. So we have six kingdoms. Over the years, it's changed. We started out with 3, then we went to 5, then we now went to 6. 6 is recent. You might have learned differently, maybe at elementary level. I'm not sure how long ago they taught you 6 kingdoms. They divided the bacteria into archaea and eukaryotic. So in science especially, we get these big old words. But archaea just means ancient. Ancient in the sense that it's not the common bacteria you can think of when you think of today. Most of y'all think of bacteria that make you sick. That's not our archaeobacteria. These are bacteria that live like methogens, haliophils, thermophils, psychophils. Methogens just means it lives in methane. Haliophils, think halite. Halite, it means it's salt, like salt water. Thermophils, thermometer, temperature. So we live in extreme temperature, either extremely cold or extremely hot. Put extreme temp. Psychrophils, these are extreme pressure. Extreme pressure. So those are the 4 common types of archaeobacteria that we have. Most all the cell types are prokaryotic. What do you know about prokaryotic cells? We know that they're single-celled. We know that they have no membrane-bound organelles. The metabolism of the archaeobacteria depend on the species. Sometimes you need oxygen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, sulfur, sulfide may be used and needed for metabolism to happen. So it all depends on the type of archaeobacteria. Most of the time, it's self-feeding. So depending on the species, nutrition may be absorption, non-photosynthetic, photophosphorylation, or chemosynthesis. Oh my gosh, chemosynthesis. So when we say maybe absorbed, think about it like fungus. So it's going to be pulled into the body. Oops, that's a Y. We also have photosynthetic photophosphorylation. So non-photosynthetic. So when we say chemosynthesis, we're going to use a chemical. Use chemical. And most of the time it's sulfide. Reproduction. In this case, is always asexual. And when we say asexual, we have binary fission, budding, fragmentation. So binary fission means we're going to take a piece and we're going to shove it into another type. And as a result, it sounds like it's sexual, but it's not. It's just pulling itself apart. Budding is just taking a piece of itself off, and fragmentation is, once again, breaking itself of its off. So it depends on the type of creature, or in this case, type of single-celled organism for it to occur. Eubacteria. Eu means true. This is your everyday modern bacteria. Excuse me. So in this case, we have bacteria, cyanobacteria, and actinobacteria. Actinobacteria is usually the bacteria that makes you sick. Cyanobacteria is your lovely algae that you have in your pond, and then regular bacteria that you have over your skin or maybe in your body. Once again, these are prokaryotic, so they're single-celled. And depending on the species, oxygen may be toxic to it, tolerated, or needed for metabolism. It's all over the board. Nutrition acquisition. That just means we depend on the species. The nutrition take maybe absorption, photosynthesis, or chemosynthesis. So the only extra thing that it has other than archaeobacteria is the photosynthesis part, which also provided a change in the type of bacteria that we have today. Asexual reproduction is the only option. In this case, we're going to just make a copy of ourselves. Usually it's by cloning. Protista. So protista or protists, which are mainly found in lots of your water. These are amoebas, green algae, brown algae, diatoms, euglena, slime molds. They're things you can't see. They're microscopic. And they are eukaryotic. How is a eukaryote different from a prokaryote? It is a true nucleus. So in this case, it has membrane-bound organelles. Oxygen is definitely needed for the metabolism to occur. And depending on species, nutrition intake may be absorption, photosynthesis, or ingestion. Ingestion is the case, for instance, amoeba. He will excrete his stomach and slurp up whatever it's trying to eat. Diatoms make their own food from photosynthesis, as brown algae, green algae. Euglena will actually hunt and ingest their prey. And then slime molds will also absorb what's there. Reproduction is mostly asexual. In this case, meiosis may occur. Meiosis is just a cell cycle. In this case, we're talking about sex cell cycle. Sex cell cycle. And so it's making what it needs in order for the creature to grow. So on the front page, we have very simple things. On the back page, on the next page, they get a little bit bigger, more complex. Their groups get bigger. So we're going to start off with fungi. These are our mushrooms, our yeast, our molds. They're also eukaryotic. Oxygen is needed for metabolism, and absorption is the only way it can take in food. Fungi are not plants. They do not have roots. They have what they call myceli. And so as a result, this myceli will actually absorb things that it needs. And what's absorbing is the living or dead things that it's living on, that it's staying on. It takes the nutrients from there. So asexual or sexual reproduction can occur. It's very helpful that it can do both, because if you're not in the distance to release your spores, which are your sperm and egg, then you can also make a copy of yourself. Usually you'll see mushrooms in a ring. So I'm drawing a little toadstool. And the reason why they're in a ring, my lovely toadstools, is because their myceli are coming out under the ground. So they're all connected like that. Plantae, mosses, angiosperms, which are your flowering plants, gymnosperms, which are cones, like pine cones, liverworts, ferns. All of these things are considered plants. They're eukaryotic. They're a little bit more complex than our fungi. Oxygen is needed for our metabolism. Photosynthesis is how we're going to make our food. And reproduction is some asexually. By mitosis. Whereas other species exhibit sexual reproduction, where they release spores. Release spores. Oops, ES. Seeds. Cones. Flowers. All these things. Animalia. So this makes a bulk of what's left over. These are mammals, amphibians, sponges, insects, worms. These are eukaryotic. Very complex. Oxygen is definitely needed for metabolism. We definitely ingest. And sexual reproduction is the only option for Animalia because they're so complex. Thank you.